Look, R. Kelly was tried many years ago and found not guilty. But because of Gloria Allred and her race and sex tour that has stopped in Chicago, she changed his public opinion. So right now he's guilty. He has been indicted. I feel that this is a revamp, trying to get another black man, and that's Miss Allred's strategy with her race and sex war tour. So tomorrow she'll be in Foxborough, Massachusetts, sprinkling a little salt, trying to get Robert Kraft to make it believable. I've got some inquiries from his manager, and you never know, man. Hey, I look at every case and I make a decision. But right now, his due process has been taken away from him, and he has been in the court of public opinion found guilty, all because of a Lifetime documentary.
The more you sit back and you listen and think back on these narratives that these other people want to keep driving into your brain, I want you to just use your common sense. All these narratives, to me, they seem like they came from a man, as I pointed out early on. Why do I say this? As a woman who has been 15, 16, 17, who knows that this is a hot area in which it wouldn't be uncommon for a girl that age to embellish her age for a guy she was interested in. It's not uncommon at all. It's not uncommon to have 16, 17-year-old single mothers. So when I gave you little pieces of this from my personal life, and then I watch people that call themselves supporting R. Kelly latch on to that and then try to minimalize me as a person because they don't like my opinion and because they want to discredit me as a person, they have to attack my character. Same thing they did to R. Kelly. We see this is the type of shit that goes on in the black community, but nobody will address it. So let's make today the topic. As we know with R. Kelly's case, these people are still playing with this evidence. And according to Steve Greenberg, the evidence that they call themselves handing over now is different than the previous evidence. And if you recall way back last year when I mentioned looking at the itemized discovery list, it basically was a whole lot of plane tickets, hotel receipts, etc., etc. To me, that would just be like, again, circumstantial evidence. When you look at this and they keep driving these narratives and you ask them, well, where are the minors today? They'll lie to you dead ass in your face and say they're in the indictment. But they won't tell you that those people mentioned in the indictment were minors way back in 99, 96, 97. They won't tell you that obviously all they have in those cases is circumstantial evidence, and all these accusers are just witnesses, nothing more, nothing less. At the end of the day, it doesn't take a genius to see past what is going on, and any woman with a dream obviously can tell the deception. Just like when I mentioned my job and how I have been included into this club, the $1 Million Club, meaning I have made this company over $1 million, over $1 million. So now I'm at a point of starting my own company. And what did the people online decide to do? Ridicule, make fun of, all because their main objective was to scam. As I told you, my personal life is irrelevant. I decided to put everything that I have been working on to the side to call out the bullcrap that I see. So with that being said, don't let the things you see distract you from what you can always go and research yourself. It's right there in your face. And if you ask me, the way it's looking now, if they keep proceeding with this, prosecutors, it seems like to me they're going to be the cause that these charges are dropped against R. Kelly. Because while all these people are online playing with your emotions, keeping you distracted, They're not telling you that there's possibilities that these charges still can be dropped. They're not telling you that this whole case can be dismissed. They're not telling you all these hopeful possibilities because why? They're trying to get their scam on while they ridicule hardworking people. So just put this in the back of your mind. There are women who have dreams, who will work hard for their dreams, who do not leech off of other people to make their dreams happen. Therefore, they cannot be brainwashed. Just let that sink in.
Live to you. Facebook, live to you. Radio, live to you. Radio, fuck you.
I flipped out, which you know I'm known to do when I get emotional. So basically what happened was I went on YouTube, I went to this channel, and as soon as I clicked into this channel, the guy was like, somebody called into his live, and they was like, oh, you could put Cash Jones on that board, she's fine, something. So he was like, oh yeah, Cash Jones got to go on the board. She going in the doghouse. And he said that I was robbed from leftovers, who's now on the other side being a pass on between all of these men. I was like, oh no.
These women are saying how they were held hostage and then turn right back around and tell you how they willingly left. Even one to talk about how she left waiting on him to call, and that's when she felt some type of way when he didn't. That don't sound like any crimes were being committed. It sounds like stories from scorned women. And the whole point is that people need to look at this whole situation again and recognize that what we saw was pure entertainment. Because when you start to dig into the facts, you see that this type of toxic behavior is being shoved down teens' throats every single day. Yet all these people want to pretend they care about the brown-skinned girls. Nobody is interested in trying to break these generational curses that have all these women indulging in these toxic relationships, now being the perfect candidate to say, me too.
Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter R. Kelly is facing trials in 3 states in both federal and state court. Kelly is accused of having sex with underage girls and, in the New York federal case, of giving a girl herpes without telling her about his infection. In 2008, Kelly was found not guilty in a child pornography case. The latest charges surfaced following the Lifetime documentary series Surviving R. Kelly, which featured alleged victims' stories of manipulation and abuse at the hands of Kelly.
I was a little girl in like a bad man's world. I never really recovered from it.
The New York federal case is set to go first and involves 5 victims and charges related to sex trafficking and racketeering. The herpes allegation is expected to be part of the jury selection process. A proposed questionnaire from the defense has this question included. Have you, a family member, a close friend, or spouse or partner ever had a sexually transmitted disease? It's a question the defense wants in. Prosecutors are objecting, saying the question, among other reasons, is, quote, unnecessarily intrusive. Mike Leonard represents Robert Kelly.
There's going to be a whole panoply of evidence presented by the state about Mr. Kelly, about his health condition, about whether he allegedly transmitted an STD to somebody else. whether they knew that he had an STD. So clearly, it's evidence that the government's going to rely upon in its case in chief. So it would make obvious sense to ask the jurors questions about their familiarity with it, whether they've experienced themselves, whether they've been a victim of that type of STD, et cetera, et cetera. So to us, it's a no-brainer.
R. Kelly has consistently denied any wrongdoing, saying any relationships were consensual and the girls were all of the age of consent. He lost his composure during a 2019 interview with Gayle King on CBS This Morning.
I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my career.
Robert.
30 years of my career.
Right now, you're obviously getting a one-sided take on R. Kelly. You're getting snippets of video that are produced and packaged in a way to make him the worst possible. And you got to remember, we're talking about allegations that in some instances are 20 to 25 years ago by persons who have already testified and or given statements under oath saying something that's absolutely contrary to what they're saying today.
Another obstacle for the defense is the fact that R. Kelly can't read.
Somewhat attuned to a case when you need an interpreter because your client doesn't speak the language.
Has not stopped him from churning out hit songs or even authoring his autobiography, Solar Coaster. But it is a disadvantage, claims his defense team, because he can't go through depositions or other discovery on his own.
All right, prosecutors in the federal case are accusing R. Kelly of running a criminal enterprise. Let me put up on the screen so you can see exactly what they're saying he's doing here. They're saying the purposes of the enterprise were to promote R. Kelly's music and the R. Kelly brand, to recruit women and girls to engage in illegal sexual activity with Kelly, and to produce pornography, including child pornography. By promoting R. Kelly's music and the R. Kelly brand, the members of the enterprise expected to receive financial opportunities and personal benefits, including increased power and status within the enterprise. In connection with the enterprise, Kelly and other members of the enterprise traveled throughout the United States and abroad to perform at concert venues to promote the R. Kelly brand and to recruit women and girls to engage in illegal sexual activity with Kelly. I want to bring in a special guest tonight, joining us from Atlanta, Georgia, a great attorney. He's representing several of R. Kelly's accusers. Gerald Griggs is with us. Gerald, great to see you.
Good to see you too, Vinny. How you doing?
Okay, let's start with this notion, this criminal enterprise. What are your thoughts about the allegations that R. Kelly, his music, his traveling, his brand was all a criminal enterprise to recruit all these women and underage girls?
I think that the government has sufficient evidence. They've proven they have sufficient evidence to a probable cause standard to believe that there was a RICO conspiracy happening. And I believe once the trial starts, they will present the actual evidence that will prove beyond a reasonable doubt there was a RICO conspiracy. You have a lot of people that enabled the behavior, the predatory behavior that's accused in the indictment. And I think that the government has sufficient evidence to prove it.
Gerald, explain to me how you think this may be different than any other R&B star or rock star, right? They travel the world, they produce music, and many of them, recruit women, whether it's their, someone that works on their staff, they spot someone in the crowd or let someone in backstage. How is what is alleged here different than what many rock stars and R&B stars around the world do every day?
Well, what's different is this particular enterprise recruited young girls, many of them underage, and moved them across state lines in violation of the Mann Act. And then there was an organization that was facilitating this illicit behavior. So I think it is sufficiently different. I think that's why he's facing charges not only in that jurisdiction, but 2 other jurisdictions for similar behavior. So I think it's slightly different. I think it violates federal law, and I think a federal grand jury agreed and brought the indictment. So I think that's why it's different.
And this is a a case, and I think that was impacted greatly by the Surviving R. Kelly documentary, which millions of people watched. Afterwards, there was an uproar, and the public was wondering, we just watched this, why is nothing happening? And then things started to happen. What do you see as the connection between the documentary and what is happening now in the cases against R. Kelly?
I think the connection is the continued pressure that the survivors and the families continue to exert. Surviving R. Kelly was just the beginning of the tip of the iceberg. There were actually 2 other documentaries before that one, and you had several families that were reaching out to law enforcement, that were in connection with law enforcement, providing evidence. And then ultimately, when the public saw the tip of the iceberg, they started demanding accountability, and the evidence came forward, and the government, both on the state level and the federal level, decided to act and presented the evidence to a grand jury.
Gerald Griggs, attorney for several of the accusers in the case, and I appreciate your time and your insight, and I hope you'll come back as we continue to cover this and other stories.
Definitely, I'll definitely come back and look forward to the trial.
The fact that these people who believe the allegations against R. Kelly and will give the benefit of the doubt of all these new artists now under the fire with the same allegations is interesting. What's more interesting is how much credit so many people, even the FBI, gave Surviving R. Kelly, overlooking that it was entertainment and scripted. So when you look at this and you hear these people quoting things that were said like it's Bible, when you see the characters of all the people involved across the board, from the producers to the actors, all these people have a past. Yet their past is not being blasted. They're not being publicly ridiculed. So the point in this video is, granted, a lot of people don't like R. Kelly's moral decisions to date younger women. That all these people that have been publicly presented to us are fraudulent. A lot of these people pretending to be connected to this man are fraudulent. And really, to be honest, maybe all this had to happen so that everyone can see exactly what this man is going through before you be so judgmental.
I admit that I don't own my music. I admit that I will own my music. Want it back, but they don't wanna do it. What the fuck, nigga? I wrote that music. I did that bump and grind. I did that. I am handcuffed like a lot of you I'm handcuffed by my destiny. It's too late. They should have did this 30 years ago. It's too late.
Gotham City. A city of justice, yeah. A city of love, a city of peace, every one of us.
Now it's very clear this channel is like no others. The way I see things, the experience I've had, lets me open my mind and see the bullshit right in front of my face. So excuse me if I take these allegations seriously.
Lord, please forgive me how I'm living. I was born to drive a whip.